Hey, welcome, Indian Cinemaniacs. What's going on? Sorry, Drew,
Hey,
you're
Ralph.
drinking right there.
Hey, how's it
going
going?
on?
Hello.
Going fantastic.
Hi, everybody. We're still
Everybody have a
basking in
good-
the RRR glow still.
Yeah,
you know,
but have you guys noticed a little bit of this controversy all over the place?
The dancing cast wasn't an
South
accurate
Asian-
representation or lacked diversity, or what was it?
Shocker that the Oscars screwed that up.
Some
too,
woke
but
bullshit.
that's not woke bullshit.
What was
the South Asian dancers were not represented in that. One of the leads was an American guy.
It was beautiful.
So I know it was beautiful, but I'm just saying, I'm not, but also the song is getting, I was reading some stuff today where people said it's not a real song because there's no melody or there's no words or something. It's amazing. You know, you hit that success and everybody just starts coming at you. It's so
Unbelievable.
Well, you know, Lady Gaga has a lot of fans. You
Well,
know,
I don't think
Rihanna's
that's-
got-
It was
I
the
thought
highlight
maybe-
of that Oscar telecast.
Of course
I
it
mean,
was.
of course
Yeah,
they're going to
but-
try to knock it down.
I know. I'm just saying, I'm not saying I said it. I'm just saying.
I know, but it's just garbage.
All right.
They're not going to take away the Oscar. I mean, you can literally stand up, slap the host of the show on live television,
go.
and keep
Never
your
take it.
Oscar.
That's
So
true.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
worry about it.
That's a
There's
good
a lot
call.
of
I
leeway.
think, doesn't Roman Polanski have an Oscar too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Several.
He couldn't even go and get it.
So.
And he
that
got a
tells you
standing ovation.
Everything you need to know.
He sure
All right,
did.
so we'll do a review of the film that Debbie's going to introduce, and then we will. Okay, so here's what I've decided on the wheel. You guys can help me vote on this one too. I dropped off the Forrest Gump thing. Too many of our
So we
viewers were
caved
like,
to peer pressure.
We did. We
Thank
did.
God.
So all that was left was Lagan, which we could
Oh.
just say we're going to do Lagan.
Oh.
Or Sean has sent me a list of more films, and I put 7 new ones on the wheel, and we could just watch Lagan for fun. And then spin the wheel. Unless you guys want to do Lagan.
I
next
think we
week,
should do
and we'll
Lagan because people have been asking us to watch
I
it.
agree.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
I
agree.
agree too.
let's do Lagan.
And we'll do a
Yeah,
new wheel next
I've
time.
got a week.
Good night. It's a 4-hour film. That's my only. Kind
It's
of
a good
trepidation
film,
on
though.
that one.
It's
Okay.
good.
Okay, so we'll just do Lagan, and then the Destiny Wheel or whatever. I can't remember the name of my wheel.
You've
that I-
already forgotten the name?
Well, we'll talk about the list after because Sean, you did a great job pulling all those
Okay.
titles together. I want to talk about that after the show. Make sure the wheels what our fans want. So
Well,
Yeah,
that-
well,
that-
also,
I
I
use
do
one.
want to say,
Go ahead.
maybe I should say to then, I'll say it then as well. They recommended a lot of films that are like available on Netflix and Prime in India,
right,
Right.
but that are not available
Right.
on Netflix and Prime
right,
in this country.
correct.
So
Right.
if people see the wheel, and it'll be a couple, because you're only putting 7 on, and I think I gave you like 40 films.
Right. And we
Yeah, so-
decided to go with less choices so we can get through them quicker. So people, will stay in tune to it. But you're right, because like Dangle that everyone, or Dungle actually pronounced, that everyone wants it to watch. I can't find it anywhere. And I even went to buy the DVD and it's $135 for the DVD.
Right.
So
Oh, wow.
So
I
get six
even
up,
went on
five
down.
Netflix India and they don't have it on.
I have a suggestion, though. Let's all go to India and watch some of these films from India. And if their sponsors could send us there, that'd be great.
Oh, yeah. I think that's
The only one I was able to find is on
What the
YouTube, but
hell
it's
are you-
no subtitles.
No subtitles. Yes,
Well,
maybe.
Okay,
Yeah, what
so
is it? A trailer? We can't watch that.
what I did was I
No,
put
no.
7 on there. I put 7 on out of the group that Sean gave me, just so we weren't overwhelmed with too many, because that's
But he
weeks
went
of
by
our
the
lives.
list that was given to us by all the viewers.
Yes,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
were those
So
were
that- we
called
wanna
from the
make that
list
clear.
that we got very generously given to us. But again, if I put 50 up there, I feel like that's 50 weeks that we're looking at.
Well,
Just
right.
kind of, it's a little overwhelming.
Right.
So we'll do Lagan next week, and then we'll spin the wheel for the next movie next time. Okay.
And one other thing I want to say that I want to make this announcement now. I want to put more content on this channel, and it's really difficult for us all to get together to do this. So I've been watching a lot of Indian films on my own. Anything with Aamir Khan, I've been watching.
I was going to say you could be our Aamir Khan.
I know.
reviewer.
Well, I'm going to start doing some 10-minute reviews. They're not going to look fancy like this, but I'm going to talk about some. I really want to talk about some of the movies that I've been watching that might not be on the wheel, and I'm going to try to do like 3 a week if I watch that many movies. So watch out for the first one. I'm going to get that done this week. So just FYI out there, guys.
Yeah, but please try to avoid the ones that are going to be on the wheel if you can.
Yes, I will try.
What do you mean you'll try? It's not
Well,
try.
like
You
Doom
won't do
3.
it. No, you can't. You can't. So there's
I
some
saw
rules.
it. But 10
And-
minutes talking about is different than on this
It's
show.
good that this is now your job, so you can do this. So that's excellent.
No, I've got 2 jobs, but this is really important to me.
Okay.
That's why it's important
All
to get out
As
content.
long as I do the open for it. Okay. Just saying. All right, Debbie.
It'll be called the Indian Cinemaniac.
yeah,
I don't know
that's
what.
right. That's good.
I think
didn't
I'm going
think of
to
that.
use your some of your stills that you gave me. So we'll do a
What?
little- some of the stills that we
Okay.
use in the thumbnails.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'll have you hop
Let's
around.
go.
All right, Debbie, introduce the film we're doing tonight.
Okay, this film, like Stars on Earth, is a story of an 8-year-old boy is thought to be a lazy troublemaker, and
the art.
until the new art teacher has the patience and compassion to discover
The real
the
problem.
real problem behind his struggles
struggles
in school. So
Are you
that's-
guys having trouble reading?
Who's
Well,
holding the cue
the
card?
camera's in the view of the
Oh.
stinking.
Yeah, Debbie's learning to look at the camera while she talks, so this is all
It's
new.
really
for her.
difficult.
We're
There's
upgrading.
a
just fine.
lot of things going on.
All right,
here,
so that's
folks, at
like
home.
Stars on Earth, otherwise known as Taare Zameen Par.
Taare
I don't know.
Zameen Par. Yep.
Taare Zameen
Taare
Par.
Zameen Par.
Job.
Starring, of course, who?
Aamir Khan.
Aamir Khan.
The Brad Pitt of India.
I gotta say, he
Actually,
was quite,
He's really
A
growing.
much
on
better
me.
actor
Yeah.
than Brad Pitt.
he was quite enchanting in this film. I have to agree.
Amir Khan.
Yes.
Yeah, so like Stars on Earth, that's pretty much it. That's the kid had some troubles, and this guy helped him. So who wants to
And
talk
this was
about
2007, this movie came out.
2007?
And a big hit.
Well, as Debbie said, wow, why does he look so different? I'm like, well, he's 15 years younger than the
Yeah.
last film we saw.
Right.
Is this before Three Idiots?
this
I
was
think Three Idiots
before
was
Three Idiots,
2009,
yes.
right?
I think it's the earliest Amir Khan we've watched, actually. I think.
Well, he co-wrote it and co-directed this one as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
He didn't direct
Well,
like
it was
the
based
music
on a
videos
book.
in there. Oh yeah.
It was
I
based
think
on
the
a book.
author of the book co-directed it.
The director, he ended up getting rid of the director after the first week because he was going to leave. He was going to quit. And the director who was going to fire said, well, why don't you just direct it? And that was his first time directing.
Yeah.
And it's a
Well-
beautiful film. I mean, I'll go first because
Yeah, please do.
I love Amir Khan. Everybody knows that. And he's in half the movie. And when he shows up, the movie definitely has an energy that happens. But the young boy, for me, was absolutely amazing in this movie because he doesn't have a lot of dialogue. And most of his performance is through his face and his emotions. And you knew exactly what was going through this kid's face. And then so it's about a boy who's got a learning disability that hasn't been identified. And in the Indian culture, they want you to be a doctor or an engineer. So everything's about that. And this kid is failing out of school. He's creating trouble because everything he sees is jumbled because it ends up, and spoilers, I mean, it's 2007, but he's got dyslexia. And nobody can discover this till this new art teacher. And the way they introduce the art teacher is absolutely wonderful. Just a wonderful musical number that the kids are great. He's wonderful in it. But he identifies this child's problem, and he goes to the parents, and the parents kind of push back on him because and let's just call it what they call him a couple times. And I please forgive me for using the word, but they call him a retard, and it's heartbreaking that you know what you as the viewer know what's going on with this kid, but no one else knows till this teacher shows up, and the way he gets the kid out of his shell through art. And I the thing for me was, and I don't do this at movies. I don't get emotional, but the art scene, the competition, where you don't know what the kid is painting, you don't know what Amir Khan is painting, but there's a whole montage of this scene, and when they show the kid's painting, which is just absolutely beautiful, and then the camera follows him as he goes around to see what Amir Khan painted, and all you see is his reaction. Then they show you the picture, and it's a picture of the boy, and it's just a beautiful picture. I was like, I got emotional. I mean, I'm getting a chill right now even talking about it. So the emotions that came out in this movie really surprised me because I'm not that type of moviegoer. I'm just not. And this really touched me. And I think it wouldn't have touched me if one, Amir Khan wasn't as good as he was, and the kid wasn't as good as he was. And I want to say that again. I don't know how old he was. He was 8 or 9, or maybe 10. It was an incredible performance. I mean, it really was. And Ralph talked to me after he saw it, and he goes, "Wow, Amir," because Ralph's kind of been downplaying Amir Khan because I'm a big suck up of him. But looking at all, like I just saw the one he did, the Thugs of I don't want to screw up the name, Hindu something. It was like Pirates of the Caribbean. It was such a different role for him, and he was really good in it. But he's such a good actor, and this was probably the straightest character he played. It wasn't like an over the top. It wasn't like, you know what I mean? It was just a very touching role, someone who cared. And for Amir Khan, the actor, this whole dyslexia thing was really important to him. The whole thrust of the story was about kids that are left behind. And dyslexia was what they used. And at the end, if you saw the credits, he went out and actually filmed special needs kids, actual kids. It was very important to him. And the movie star he used when he talked about people who has dyslexia is a real Indian movie star who had dyslexia as a kid. And he went to him and asked permission if he could use his name in it, and got the permission. So to me, it was just a wonderful story. I never felt it was too long. I was into the story. I felt you just felt so bad for the kid, and when the parents left him at the school, it was just heartbreaking. And that kind of emotion to me is something that usually doesn't happen. So I absolutely loved this movie, and I can't speak more highly of it, really.
Yeah, I agree. Now, as I'm watching it, I'm thinking, wow, this movie is such a manipulative film. It's hitting all the buttons. Of course, it's the To Sir with Love. It's the teacher that's going to save. When he does that dance at the beginning, my brain's going, oh, this would never work here with all the grooming talk that's going on. This kid, because he's rubbing faces and he's hugging kids and I'm like, okay, it started a little, but you stick with it, and sure enough, it just grabs you. I was doing the same thing. By the end of that film, I was blubbering because it's like, okay, I can't believe this film did this to me. But it has everything to do with, like you said, the kids acting, but also Amir Khan was just such just fun to watch, and is very naturalistic. And I didn't feel the over the top stuff he does and all. Now the dance at the beginning, obviously they're going to throw these in these films, right? The dance number at the beginning, and I was expecting to be manipulated. I was manipulated incredibly, and I didn't care. I loved every second of it. And the relationship that even the scene that got me is when the father comes walking out and he sees his kid reading the sign, the amphitheater sign, and the father starts crying and can't even talk to his own kid. And the father's been kind of an obnoxious person throughout this. He's the one calling him the R word. He's the one calling him the loser. The mother was suffering through this whole thing. It's her favorite. It's her little boy. We didn't talk about the brother who was his older brother, who was good at everything he did. So he's constantly hearing that thrown in his face.
But the brother's great to him. The
brother's very supportive.
Brother loves him.
Brother's very supportive. So there was nothing there. And and to Amir Khan telling them a story about Albert Einstein and the actor you're talking about, and of course me. He's saying, I had the same problem, so I know where you're coming from, my father. All these manipulative things they lay out, like in any movie that's trying to pull the strings. And I didn't care because, like you said, when that kid turns that picture around and shows his picture, and then you see Amir Khan's picture of him, it's like, oh my God, okay, I'm gone. This is great. I mean, and Amir Khan just looks happy in this film. It's just such an interesting thing. So I completely bought into it. I'm sure it's sappy as hell. Like Stars on Earth just means every child is a star, except he was only concentrating really on the one kid. I don't know if there were other kids in there that were as talented and that they do that scene in that art scene with everybody on the hillside.
Yeah.
I mean, how they pulled that off in the time they did, I don't know. But, and to see those other teachers, the cranky teachers who were giving the kid crap and everything, having fun during that. I mean, it all just kind of, snowballed into this happy ending. And then that end, when he runs into his arms and he throws them up in the air, forget about it. I mean, it's like, I'm done. So I loved it. Loved it.
Well, I could say this about Amir Khan. I am starting to really like this guy.
Yeah.
You know, I wish we would have started out with this movie first when he was young, because I didn't quite place him in the other movies that he's been in, but this one nailed it. I mean, I really saw his sweetness, and you know, who doesn't love a kid that's like an idiot savant, they call them, you know, genius, but they're so unrecognizable. I mean, I have somebody very close to me that is probably fits that category, and I think it's me.
Oh,
Oh,
What, you're gonna do a rim shot now?
Oh, too late. Too
yeah, I
late.
got it. Hang on.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But I mean, I think that when you're on the spectrum, when you see somebody else on the spectrum, you could point that out and say, "Oh my God." But then you start to want, you know, you really think, "Wow, maybe that says something." And I think the identifiable part of this film is the sweetness of it. This little kid, you know, it's like having difficulties, not just relating to people, you know, it's just his obtuse understanding. You know, dyslexia is more beyond. He was a savant. I mean, he had knowledge of art and other things. His best friend was understanding what he said about the poem, which was
Right.
very profound. You know, when you inspect that kind of off the wall behavior, wouldn't you?
Well, they illustrated
Yeah.
his imagination, which I thought was really clever. When they did that animated scene when he was trying to work the math problem and he's got the train going around his head. So you knew the kid had a vivid imagination, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's
but like with the poem, I think, you know, now that we've seen this and Three Idiots, obviously Amir Khan has a feeling about the Indian education
Right.
system.
That's for sure.
And it's like pushing people just to do the facts. And I thought that poem scene was great because the one kid, his friend reads the poem, and they ask the good boy to interpret it, and he gives a profound meaning to what the author was really getting at. And the teacher's like, "Oh, no, 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 you're wrong." And then there's somebody who explains it visually, and it's like, "You're right." You know, and the educational system is looking for facts and people who can deliver the facts rather than the intuition and the intelligence. And obviously, this whole subject must be felt very strongly by Amir Khan, you know, and I'm really glad do you have anything more to say, Debbie? I'm sorry to jump in.
Well,
on.
also I have a daughter who's very brilliant. I mean, she's such a beautiful person, and we just finished up some things in our personal life with our daughter, and I just love her. And after this film, I'm starting to see what you know, it's not black and white. People are not black and white. There are just so many depths to them, and they might have difficulty. I remember getting a tutor for this daughter of mine, and I was trying to, you know, it's our culture too, not just in India, but to really hammer it in. If they're not doing well in school, we get a tutor, we study hard, you know, we beat them, like, you know, come on, get with it. That's not going to change their obtuseness if they have that thing going. But they have other qualities in their skill set that's not, you know, going to be acceptable, I guess, in the school system.
But don't you think, based on all the movies we've seen where education has been part of it, school has been part of it, their culture is definitely, you want to be an engineer and a doctor, and if you do that, you're going to be successful. Anything else, you know, they make that very clear in all these movies.
Right.
And so I think that's part of the reason why. Look, my only complaint about the movie is, in all the years that he was in school, no one else picked up on this dyslexia other than the temporary art teacher. That was my only complaint about it. I found that a little.
Well, that's
hard
why
to
it's
take.
surprising it
But
worked, because
it didn't
you know,
bother me.
right.
But that's, if I was to say one thing, that would be it.
I mean, they do make a point where they're like, you know, he's in a class with 60 kids.
Right. That's
You know, I
true.
mean, they do make
That's
that
fair.
point that they even in a better school, the school he's in at the beginning, you know, obviously upper middle class school, you know, his father's a businessman who obviously has a pretty good job. You know, that they're still in a massive, what we here would consider a massively overcrowded system. So obviously they don't, and the father, even at one point, even before he kind of comes to his epiphany, realizes that, how can they give him individualized attention? There's 60
Right.
of them.
Even one of the teachers says that later
Right.
too. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, good, we know what his problem is. Now we can send him somewhere else.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like they just want to shove it on.
That's a good point.
Yeah, but I tell you, I love this movie. It was great. The little kid was great. I thought the older brother looked like Aamir Khan. I didn't look it up. I was wondering what his last name was. I thought the older brother looked like a family member. But it was it was very well. The kid was great. And I tell you what, it was getting so depressing. I'm sitting there thinking, if Aamir Khan doesn't, when he's like up on overlooking that height, and I'm like, if Aamir Khan doesn't show up, I think I'm going to jump out a window, because it was just so sad what this kid was going through.
Well, his father, that guy was really playing a pretty nasty, parent.
No, but
He
he was nasty, but it was definitely believable in the context of that society.
Yeah, and I guess in that context, sure.
Here, and particularly he has the perfect son,
Right.
too. The
Well,
other son
he lost in tennis, though.
Yeah, I was
didn't
going to say, except he lost in tennis.
Yeah, if that's your worst problem in life, then you're doing well.
Chris, did you like the film?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
Um,
I was wondering.
No, it's once again, it's funny with Aamir Khan films. I like him in a lot of ways. I appreciate him as a filmmaker in the sense that I think he has a social conscience, and I really do like that about him.
Some might call him woke.
With Three Idiots, and the other one that we watched about his take on religion and his rather critical look at
PK, yeah.
PK, sorry, and this one as well. It was really nice to see people on screen who are developmentally disabled or developmentally delayed. Some of them obviously had Down syndrome and things like that, and to see people who aren't really portrayed in film anywhere really, in film period. So it was nice to see them portrayed in a very human and caring way. You know what I mean? That part, like the Tulip School sequences, I thought were very sweet and powerful. And while I really liked what he was going for overall, an hour and 15 minutes of abuse of this kid to get to where we got to, and then he comes in this movie. And I know I've complained about this before, but I really thought that was a little much. Like that was a long intro to get to where we were before we get. And I'm not saying we have to get there right away. I understand that they want to show, the trials that this poor kid was going through, and I feel for the kid. But I don't know. I had a real hard time getting through this one. And I did like some of the stuff, like the animated sequence when he's looking 3x9, and he kind of confuses it all. And I did like some of the songs in the early part of the film when it's just the boy, when he's on the bus.
Going through the city.
There were elements of this film that I thought were really great. It just, as a whole, it didn't quite pull it together for me. And maybe it's because I've seen a bunch of films about the super special teacher that comes in and,
it's a
Dead
trope.
Poet Society.
It's a trope.
Dead Poet Society. But at the same time, and while there were elements of this film that I really enjoyed and I thought were really well done, and like I said, I appreciate his sense of social filmmaking, and bringing to light things that maybe aren't brought up a lot. And like I said, in any film culture, I'm not pointing at saying, oh, we treat this kind of situation so much more with so much better intuition or care than anybody else, because I don't think we really do as an American film culture. But all in all, I don't know, the movie just didn't hold together for me. I thought it was I thought it was long, but it just didn't quite pull it together, But like I said,
Burn the witch. Sorry.
Burn the witch.
Yeah, that's me. I'm the one. But all in all, but like I said, elements that I really liked. Some scenes I thought were fantastic, and I really appreciate his sense of social caring. I really do. I like that about him. It's funny, I haven't yet found an Aamir Khan film that really that I really, really like yet.
You weren't crying at the end.
No, I was not.
Well, you're not going to be into the 4-hour Lagan. I can tell
Well,
you that
see,
right now.
here's the thing about Lagan. I'm super excited about that because it has to do with cricket, and I'm kind of interested / fascinated with cricket.
I don't know if it was your friend at that movie theater, but someone at the theater when I saw RRR shouted about how great Lagan was.
Oh, really?
One of the I don't know if it's someone that you were with worked with you, but she was like, definitely Lagan. Everybody's got to see that one too. So,
Maybe.
Drew, what about you? You're kind of
Well, I want to say, first of all, when Lagan got to be like, I guess there were 4 movies left on the wheel. I did start watching it, so I'm watching it now. And I should have it finished by the time that we do it next week. So I'm excited about that. And John, don't say that you don't get emotional at the movies. I know if we had watched Avengers Endgame together, we would have clutched each other when Captain America,
I believe,
wielded Mjolnir. It was beautiful.
You got me on that one.
All right. So it's okay to own it. Listen, especially a movie like this, like, first of all, just from a filmmaking standpoint, I thought it was really a kind of a neat choice to be the movie star and the director and and a big star, period, and not show up for an hour.
Right.
I like the idea of someone doing their directorial debut and acting in it, which is fine because he's a wonderful actor, but not being the main character, which was just like that thing you do with Tom Hanks did, which I thought was a great choice. Like, he's an important part of the movie, but it's not Tom Hanks directing a movie conceived by Tom Hanks, starring Tom Hanks, about Tom Hanks being awesome. And so this movie was definitely an Aamir Khan movie, but that kid really holds the screen. And I liked in the first part of it, I didn't like him. And that was what you're supposed to like. He's annoying. Like, I feel bad watching a kid get bullied or something, but he's not easy, because as you learn, he's so upset and frustrated and lost dealing with his dyslexia. And they sold that. I believe that. He reminded me of the kid in The Babadook.
I was just going to say that. Yeah.
I mean, that kid is so gratingly annoying. Yeah. And of course, he's also suffering, and he's lost his father, and his mother's not well, and like it's one of those things where you go, I get why this kid is behaving like this. It's still, I'm glad he's not my kid type of experience, which then
by
makes
the end
you feel
of that,
bad, because
by the end you're on that kid's side. By the end, you're
which is
totally
great.
Yeah, right.
My wife Kelly has watched some of these movies with me, and one of them like 4 times with me, but she didn't watch this one with me, and she said after I finished it, she said, well, how was that one? And I said, it was basically a 2-hour and 45-minute after school special. Yeah. But it was a really nice one.
Yeah.
And, there was definitely some Dead Poet Society and other things in there. I think it's important to note that the whole point of how kids with things like dyslexia, as opposed to an autism spectrum disorder or other kinds of developmental diagnosis, is that he doesn't need special education. He doesn't need the place that everybody was going to push him off to. He needs a more supportive, loving classroom, not a special education environment. Like, he wouldn't have belonged at the Tulip School, and all those kids were very lucky to be at the Tulip School, but there were lots of people in the movie and in the world who would have said, just send him to the Tulip School. He can't read, or something like that. And, a kid that suffers with that, they have to consciously learn to do what we don't think about doing when we learn to read and write in the course of normal education. And Kelly and I ran a nonprofit called Karma Dogs, good Indian word, for many years. And we worked with therapy dog teams. People volunteered with their dogs, and we tested them and trained them. And one of our biggest programs that we did was kids could sign up and read to the dogs at the library. And you end up with a whole range of different kids, but you end up with a lot of kids. And there's specific kids I'm thinking of right now. And this was, about 12 years, a few years ago. And these are kids that are now grown up and gone to college. And their parents have told me the reason that this kid liked reading enough that they would put in the work that you need to do to learn to read when you are struggling with something like this is because of the dog. And it's very gratifying to be able to help people, but that's what it takes. You need something extra. You need something special. And, the biggest class I taught was 37 7th graders, and that sucked. So to have 60 kids is a lot. And to be able to think I can deliver that to these kids that need it, that's why it's easier to shuffle them off. So I thought it was very nice that, that they didn't make dyslexia a superpower like some of these movies about these things. It's like it's okay to acknowledge that this kid's life is a lot harder because he has a problem, but half the problem is that nobody knows he has the problem. And that he was very lucky. He found this very kind person who I think is just, a nice teacher in general. And yeah, he's very touchy feely and stuff when you meet them. But I don't know. That didn't bother me. It's a different world and it's a different time. And there was certainly no part of that. Was nothing predatory about him.
No. I'm not.
And it was very
Patch Adams.
It was a very sweet movie. Yeah, and I wasn't sure how they were going to end it. I thought, the way that they sent him at dawn out to that vantage point to see the lake and to see that landscape, and that the way that he turned that into a painting that still looked like a painting by a child, unlike Aamir Khan's painting, but it was still quite beautiful. They just, I don't know, they just did it right, and I think that's what a number of you have been saying. They just did a lot of stuff right. So it was a nice movie, and I know it was shown in different places around the world, different organizations that are fighting to get kids the help they need for dyslexia, and it's very well received. And I would look at this movie and say this is a good movie for people who don't know what it is, who don't understand it, to watch it if they have the time, because it is a long movie. The same way the Claire Danes in the Temple Grandin movie that she did for HBO, which is a wonderful movie, is a great way to look at it's about autism. And it's about a kind of autism, because that's the thing. There's dyslexia, there's dysgraphia, there's different things. But this was about a kid who needed help, and he got lucky enough to get the help, and that's a nice story. But you also know there are a lot of kids with different reasons that don't get that. So I think it's okay to see a success like that in a movie, and hopefully it inspires people.
There's another movie that this movie reminds me of, and that's the one with the Beach Boy. What is it called?
Love and Mercy.
Love and Mercy. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's a wonderful movie.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
John Cusack and Paul Dano playing.
Good call.
Playing Brian Wilson.
Good call.
It's also just about how much love can just change a child's life. Change anybody's life. Really, it doesn't have to be a child, but just patience and caring and love gets them through the the autism, or not the autism.
Well, there's so many different ways to be not well and to need help, and a lot of people never get that help. And some people, like Love and Mercy is about someone who should have all the resources in the world to get that help, but he's being blocked by people who are taking advantage of him. And so the person who can help him, I think it was Elizabeth Banks, right? Yes. Who broke through because she loved him and also was able to fight for him, and not everybody is that lucky. And I think she fought for that bear too.
Well, what Chris was, I was going to, by the way, bring up Mercury Rising again. Because that autistic kid solves the puzzle, and Bruce Willis.
Not my favorite.
Well, my favorite dyslexia film is Marathon Man, with Laurence Olivier's Zell, the vice angle, just talking about how he had dyslexia as a child, which is why he's so precise in the spoken language.
I thought,
this kid is nicer than Zell.
Chris brought up the fact that it takes an hour or whatever it is for Aamir Khan to come in. I didn't mind staying with that kid's family and with that kid to see what he was going through, because I felt like the relationship with the mother was really strong, and the way they were playing that, and his freaking out about having to leave. I just, I don't want to see a person suffer, but for this story, I felt like that kind of set me up because I knew what was going to happen. I knew once Aamir Khan comes in and he becomes the saving teacher, what was going to happen. And they, as soon as he comes in with that costume and starts dancing, right away what this character is going to be.
Well, that was a release moment, because to Chris's point, it was a beatdown for the first hour. But I think it was okay, because one, that song was a release from that, and it also paid off in the end. Your emotional response at the end was based on what the poor kid went through in the first hour. Right. And it might not have had that kind of weight later on.
And the father hugging the teacher at the end.
Right.
The father with that big hug. And, and the other thing is that I'm learning in these films that, watching men cry, and there's a lot of crying that goes on in this, is just standard. Like, it's not a big deal. And I find that release, and that's why I didn't mind blubbering at the end of this thing. Nobody was here, of course. It's just me. But Um, I enjoyed it. The manipulation. I knew I was going to be manipulated. Of course, it's a hero.
It's a
teacher
movie.
film. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah, but this
exactly. I mean,
wasn't
every
as
movie does
manipulative
that.
as many other films I've
Are
seen.
you kidding me? Come on.
To
And
me, my dog Skip. is the
Any
most-
dog
Oh, well,
movie is a manipulating
that's a
movie
crying
because they
movie.
always end the same. Okay.
and
Yeah.
this
Um.
and the
So
screenwriter is told to do this: torture your main character as much as you can to build that much tension. And then when the
Yeah.
hero comes through, when Amir Khan does show up, well, there you go. What a savior!
Yeah.
I know, but I fall into like, is that the only kid he's dealing with? I know he's got the Tulip School. Then the reality.
Well, but
starts.
at the end, the Tulip School was going to be able to go to that
Right.
same school.
I know everything.
So
worked
he
out.
made
It all
that
worked
happen
out.
because
Yeah,
why should it be any
because he's-
different? So
and
there
you
was
know,
a
I
big,
just think about an American film. Again, I always compare and contrast this, but we've had the hero teacher come in and do this, but we haven't had the hero teacher come in and do a music video, dancing around with the kids, and a
That
music
number was
video
incredible.
slapped in the middle of the film when they're shooting all the kids.
it was
in
so
there.
joyous.
It is joyous.
After
I mean,
everything
and again,
that had happened.
I'm totally on board for this film.
And it's got
but
over 800 million views on YouTube. That dance number.
the first one he did.
Yeah.
That's funny. I
It's a
did
real
like
catchy
also
tune.
him
And the kids
calling
were
it.
great.
I liked him calling out all the other people that have dyslexia and
Yeah.
Albert Einstein and some of the, I think some other than the actor,
The,
other
the
people.
Indian actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was quite,
But that was
Informative.
manipulative too because the kid
Of
thought he was going
course.
to mention him by name.
of course.
And then he says, no, it's me.
Right.
I had dyslexia. So
Anyway,
Well, one other thing I wanted to say, I like anybody that loves movies. I like a good montage, and even though Matt and Trey from South Park have made it hard to watch any montage without hearing that song, which is fine because it's
King
right.
America World Police.
Exactly,
You are referring
an
to.
absolute stone cold classic film, the
Right.
best marionette action
it.
film in years.
Love it.
I really liked what they did with the montage because like if I did a montage of Ralph's got these big guns now. So if I did a montage of Ralph training for several months, getting big, you could imagine like I can see him like a Rocky movie. He's lifting the weights and he's eating the food and he's going for a run and stuff like that. This montage, definitely time passed, but they showed him doing the things that you need to do. They showed him doing the things that I helped kids do.
Right.
Sounding out words.
Right.
Because you have kids sometimes that they learn to read something and they don't know what they're reading. And can you get them to the point where they can interpret the letters, and then can you get them to the point where they can get the meaning of the word? And watching him do that, that's why his father broke down
Right.
and wept when he saw his son sounding it out. And it's a beautiful thing to achieve that, but it also shows that's not, Aamir Khan's not going to sit with a kid for 10 minutes once a week and make it happen. It takes real work. And of course, it's very hard for a teacher to do that for a student when there are dozens and dozens of students who, by the way, also have probably a dozen other problems and challenges that they need to deal with in the classroom. But the whole sounding it out thing, I remember, just some really wonderful moments of kids realizing what a word meant as they were reading to my dog. And that montage captured, like the kid looked satisfied. He's like,
Right.
oh, I get it.
well, can you
and
imagine? He's been locked
it's
down.
amazing.
He didn't. The whole movie. Even the credit at the beginning is all the spinning letters and
Mhm.
the claymation they do at the beginning is just to show what's going on in his mind and how he's looking at the world. That's that whole setup. And to have him realize, and to, that amphitheater, what you're talking about, he's reading amphitheater. He's and the
Mhm,
father
right,
sees
exactly.
him do that, and it's just heartbreaking and wonderful at the same time. It's like, wow, this kid's finally figured it out. Of course, it's a great teacher, but again, very
Well, but I mean,
manipulative.
the kid
but
has
I
to
don't
put
care.
in the
I
work.
don't care.
And
That's right.
It shows the
Well,
kid is doing the
The
work.
figure eight.
Yes.
Remember
And
the
not
figure
only
eight?
that,
amazing.
you guys, what we're on the cusp of science that, this artificial intelligence that's coming out there for these kids, the autistic, the idiots of, savants or whatever. With
They don't really
artificial-
call them that anymore.
Well, they're dualist. One part of their mind is perfectly brilliant, and the other part
Is me.
Yeah, and we all. I mean, I definitely
Heavy on the idiot, you mean?
the idiot.
Just saying.
He's an idiot savant, only half right. But but the thing is, with artificial intelligence, there is a way to switch that. So I was talking to somebody from the Kennedy Krieger Institute, where they're using a lot of artificial intelligence, and I said, "What is that like?" I can imagine when a child is first exposed to this, to actually, because a lot of them they're deaf, and a lot of them have never, are quadriplegics. And she said, yeah, it's very like Helen Kellerish in that where she's learning how to spell water, the first time. It's so exciting. And I'm thinking, man, that's got to blow the kid's mind to actually communicate with another human being, we sometimes have difficulty finding words, but you imagine these children that do not connect. And, that takes a lot of patience and time, but AI is going to change a lot. It's going to be a whole ball game opening up.
And
I'm not going to pretend I'm not going to pretend I'm not wary of that, but it is very interesting to see what's happening with ChatGPT and all that kind of stuff. And I grew up on, Terminator and things like that. I mean, if you want to watch a great movie about AI doing bad things, you could watch Colossus, The Forbin Project, and then watch Movie Strange episode 23 to hear a good discussion of it. But I think that the thing about ChatGPT, I had never played with it until this weekend. I had never tried it, and I heard you could make it tell stories. So I said, all right, I'm going to give it the same prompt, and apparently it won't give you the same thing every time. So
it's different every time.
Right. So I said, tell me a story about a rabbi and his best friend, a fish who can't stop farting. And I got two different stories that actually had very similar values about, liking your friends even when they smell bad and being loyal and stuff like that. And it was like, I don't know. I didn't see this in the Terminator movies, but I'm kind of curious to see where it goes. So if they're using AI and all kinds of special education stuff, that's really interesting.
Okay. Wait,
Let me just
I got one thing to say. One thing to say. Zooby do or Zooby don't? Come on, we got to stay on the movie. Let's go. Well, we got Sean, good. Say what you're going to say, and then we're Zooby.
No, I was just say, chat. I've been doing log lines. I put summaries in, and had chat. Open AI give log lines. I get like 15 of them, and some of them are amazing. However, I gave it a more complicated thing. I gave write a biography of Sean Paul Murphy. Like 3 details about myself. Write a blog about me, and it just started making up shit.
Yeah.
What do you expect it to do?
We don't know. It's an experiment.
There's 100 pages of stuff about me if you Google me.
Okay.
And it was like saying I wrote episodes of The Twilight Zone.
Sean, how many times do you Google yourself?
Bridges.
Okay. How many times do you Google yourself?
What?
Yeah, how many times do you Google yourself?
Quite a bit. Why wouldn't I? I look for reviews of the books, and then I put the good things they say on Twitter.
Wow.
It's called self-promotion, Ralph.
I guess that's
you should
what
try
it is.
it.
You're going too far, Sean. You're going too far.
No, it's fine. All right. Zooby do or Zooby don't? Okay. Sean and Debbie.
Zooby do.
Zooby do.
Chris. Oh, you're muted.
Mic's off.
Zooby man.
Was your phone ringing again? Zooby man. Okay.
Zooby zone. He's in the zone.
Zooby Doo. It's a nice movie.
John.
Zooby Doo. I loved it.
Me too. Zooby Doo. Yeah, it's a great film. Very manipulative, but it worked. It worked. I try to, I watch these films and I go, what American actor would be able to pull off what he pulls off?
Tom Hanks.
I don't know.
Big nose in that Dutch accent.
I mean, he's got that likability. There's a likability.
Yeah, there's definitely something about him.
Yeah, and Indian films in general, they can do this, and it looks great. It looks great. So I don't know. I always do that. I always go, who would do this? Who would?
Robin Williams would do it. Oh, he already did.
He would do that. You're right.
Patch
Good call.
Adams.
Good call.
And
all right,
not Patch Adams. Dead Poets Society.
Oh, Dead Poets Society.
Brad Pitt.
No. He does different things. Takes his shirt off, stuff like that.
He plays Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Not that that's bad.
No, it's good. All right, so we won't spin the wheel. The wheel of
Lagan.
I forget what we call it.
The wheel of Lagan. Yeah.
The wheel of.
You should put Lagan on the wheel 7 times and then spin.
We're just gonna do Lagan. We will not do the remake of Forrest Gump.
I'm gonna watch it.
You can watch that on your own.
But I'm dying to know why people hate it so much.
Well, you let us know. Do it
I
one of your
will.
reviews. You can do that as one of your
I will.
reviews. Okay.
Yeah.
'Cause we will
10-minute
not be speaking.
reviews.
Okay.
Cinemaniac. Thanks, Drew.
All right. So that's what we do. Start watching Lagan right now. By the time you're done, next show will be ready.
Yeah,
So-
and in the middle of it, subscribe, hit the notification button, and smash that like button. We're almost at 2,000 subs. We're almost
Yeah,
there.
almost.
we need a few more. We need a
Please
few
Yeah.
more.
subscribe.
And thank you all for subscribing.
And if you've been listening this long, come on, you must subscribe.
And we're not going to be sub-inspectors of it.
Okay. Hang on.
no rim shot for that one, Deb? I mean, come on.
Hey, please. There you go.
That was so lame. Let us
Yes,
try
a little
again.
bit. At least you recognize your lameness. That's good.
Ralph, when you divide the chapters, make sure you put the section on AI.
Yeah,
That's got to be a separate section.
I
okay?
won't cut it out, I promise, but we will log it as a section. Okay. So, all right, everybody, have a good week.
Yes.
Enjoy Lagan. We'll all know how to play cricket.
I
by the
can't
end of this
wait to
film, I
watch
hope.
it.
Yep. And we'll see you next week.
All right.
guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a great week.